We invest heavily in physical boundaries to protect our tangible world, yet we often treat our most sensitive digital perimeters as an afterthought. Take a second to consider your current primary password. If you've relied on a pet's name, a birth date, or the sequence password 123, you've established a boundary that software can bypass in a fraction of a second. As this documentation defines it, confidentiality is the foundational requirement of cybersecurity. It is the practice of preventing data disclosure to unauthorized parties through encryption and strict access levels. But the system relies on human behavior, and we are predictably creatures of convenience. We reuse the same simple authentication strings across dozens of high-stakes platforms to save ourselves the effort of remembering them. Reusing a password creates a single point of failure. That string of characters identifies you to your bank, your healthcare provider, and your employer, meaning a compromise in one location grants access to all of them. Popular media depicts hacking as a manual process of guessing personal details. In reality, modern attacks are driven by high-speed, automated scripts that never tire. These are active attacks. As the research notes, these are exploits where the intruder uses specialized software to systematically alter system resources and bypass authentication. The most persistent method is a brute force attack. Software methodically generates every possible combination of letters and numbers. Human speed is irrelevant. These programs test thousands of variations every second, working through defenses with mathematical precision. Attackers also use dictionary attacks to speed up the process. Instead of random strings, the software runs through millions of commonly used words and previously leaked passwords, looking for a match that has already been proven effective. Against this level of automation, a simple human-generated password isn't just weak, it is functionally invisible to the software. The moment the software finds a match, the authentication protocol is bypassed, granting the attacker a legitimate session within the system. Once the session is established, the attacker uses their new permissions to execute background processes. As this table shows, they deploy malware, self-replicating programs like worms and viruses that spread through the network to compromise other connected systems. This access allows for the installation of ransomware, which targets the file system itself. It identifies high-value data blocks and encrypts them, holding your digital life hostage for extortion. The attacker then leverages your internal email account to send spoofed messages. Because the email originates from a trusted user, your contacts and vendors are far more likely to click malicious links, spreading the infection further. What begins as a single cracked password ends with your entire system being weaponized against everyone you do business with. The good news is that these automated scripts are limited by the same mathematics they use to attack. You can change the variables to make the cost of an attack too high to sustain. This chart demonstrates character complexity. An 8-character password can be solved in seconds, but increasing the length to 12 characters and adding varied symbols shifts the math. By adding 4 characters, you increase the processing time required from a few seconds to several centuries. Of course, the challenge is that nobody can memorize dozens of unique 12-character random strings. This is why an encrypted password manager is a critical tool. It functions as a secure database for your authentication tokens, allowing you to use high-complexity strings for every account without having to remember them. This shifts the responsibility for your security away from your own memory and onto modern encryption protocols that software cannot easily break. But even with a perfect password, a corporate data breach at a company you trust could still leak your credentials onto the dark web. To counter this, you need a secondary layer of protection, multi-factor authentication, or MFA. MFA requires a physical confirmation. Even if the attacker has your password, the system demands a temporary one-time code generated by an app or a physical security token in your possession. Without that physical device, your password, no matter how it was obtained, is functionally useless to an intruder. Stop making it easy for automated scripts to find a way in. Update your authentication requirements, use a manager, and enable multi-factor authentication today.